The movie starts from the day of January 20, 1997. Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis Presley's former manager, has a heart attack and is rushed to a hospital in Las Vegas. Accusations of the death of Elvis Presley toward Parker, it's all over the news. They are calling him a cheater, a liar. They say 50% of the income went to Tom, he would make him work like a mule. Tom Parker, his manager, he was the one who gave the world a star like Elvis Presley, how he get him up, how he made his fortune and his career. Parker is inside the hospital but he thinks of the times with Elvis. One day, when Elvis barely could stand with his entourage, Parker shows up and tells to somehow make him able to stand up and get on the stage better so he could perform. After all, no matter what happened but Presley performs the show to an amazed crowd. Tom comes out of his flashback in the hospital, waking up denying himself of the accusations of being Elvis's murder. Tom explains the ideology of Elvis's performance and the art he learned from a circus. He begins narrating his tale from back in the mid-1950s where he undocumented Dutch immigrant worked at a carnival for Western country singer Hank Snow. His son, Jimmy Rogers, show up with a record that has the country kind of sound of it. The others in the crowd seem to like the tune and Parker doesn't think the music is marketable since it sounds like a music being played by African American folks. Jimmy tells them that this song is sung by a white man where Parker suddenly becomes interested. At the Hayride Night show, Jimmy sings the country song on the stage. Tom asks about the singer he listened to and is informed about his presence. His first encounter was there. Down there he sees Elvis is being taught about performing as he fears to perform because of people's taste of music. Elvis stands with his fellow members, and his mother Gladys convinces him to go forth and perform. Parker tells about Jesse as he hears from Gladys, who was Elvis's twin brother who died at birth. As sure it was a tragic incident to face. Elvis's father Vernon was incarcerated due to his shady dealings. Elvis would get lost in comics while reading and started pretending that he would do what he could to free his father. His favorite hero was Captain Marvel. As a kid, Elvis befriended black children and found himself enchanted by soulful black music. On one day, when he heard the spirituals singing inside a tent, he rushes to follow up with them. The spirit touches his soul and he joins them, losing his own senses. His friends try to take him out, but the preach stops them, telling him to be in the spirit. Meanwhile, at the performance show, Elvis is called on the stage for his turn where Tom follows him. Tom's narration continues. Somewhere in the early 1950s, Elvis worked at a studio named Sun Records where they would sell black music, which didn't work out, and planned to record from a new singer. But the lady, his wife, tells him that he is a different one than any other and he should work it out. Meanwhile, at the performance, everyone gets ready to watch Elvis go up. Tom is observing him from a distance. He sees his girly makeup he had wore, that gave his observation a strange look. Elvis starts singing where initially he is mocked by the crowd for. He immediately charms the ladies in the crowd with his voice and his gyrating hooks, while the female crowd is amazed by Elvis. The older crowd is put off and considers him indecent. Tom says that he knew nothing about music, but the crowd seemed to enjoy as they have eaten the forbidden fruit and couldn't decide how to enjoy it. But the way Tom saw Elvis was a complete different experience, as he shared with us, telling his tales. Tom sees him as his destiny afterward. Somewhere in the bar, a woman, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, sings Hound Dog as of being energetic by the Presleys' ghost inside of her. Elvis likes the sounding. His employers at Sun Records also encourage Elvis to strike out on his own. He catches much attraction. Everyone would look at him and starts talking about him. Back at his home, Elvis tells to travel to Florida for his show, which her mother refuses at all costs to let him go. Elvis explains why he only is doing all of this to earn for his family. His mother gets so upset about hearing this, she leaves to her room. Elvis's father, although, seems to appreciate and is allowing him to do his work. Elvis comes to convince his mother to let him go humbly. She says she is only afraid of their relationship as they both will have gaps between them. Soon Elvis joins Hank's musical tour across the South, with Parker following him in an attempt to win him over. Elvis continues to draw hordes of female admirers, but Hank views him as being inappropriate for the crowd he wants to attract. One night, Elvis is shown up a girl at his doorstep. For what his mother was afraid of, Elvis falls into the act of nudity, as what his mother told him something would come in between them. She waits for his call, which she doesn't get, and becomes upset. At a carnival, Elvis amazed the crowd and left the stage. Hank and Tom were discussing meanwhile. When Hank starts performing the show after Elvis's turn, Tom followed him and found him alone. As he was lost, Tom approaches to him, but he walks forward being invited. Tom follows him in a mirror house and finally take a word with him. He tells him how he learned his art of the snow job. The trick by which you make everyone smile and enjoy. Tom shares his fact as he learned it from a circus, where they are present in the current time. They sit on the Ferris wheel. Tom tells Elvis that Hank wants to get rid of him, but Parker assures Elvis that he can take him to new heights and can make him prosper and more famous. Elvis, driven by his desire to help his family, accepts the grant to work with Parker. The two even convinced Gladys and Vernon to join. With Vernon being appointed to the management position of the newly founded Presley Enterprises while Gladys is uncertain about Elvis venturing into a new career in music, he convinces her that he can make something of himself before making it big in music. Elvis, they both sitting on the Ferris wheel, talks about Elvis's future. He mentions the Rock of Eternity. On being asked by Tom about it, he tells him about Captain Marvel, who he loved the most as a superhero. Presley says that he flies. Tom confirms his joining. He says he want to fly and agrees. They both collab and release their first song out, which brings a lot of changes. He takes his family and her mother's favorite pink Cadillac and moving them into a new mansion in Graceland near Memphis. Elvis was the key to Tom. He earned a lot of commission by branding things after naming them Elvis, calling it merchandise. He uses the I Hate Elvis label tags to earn profits from those who doesn't even want to like Elvis by selling them. Since the audience and the desire of people regarding Elvis concerned parents and elected officials, they turn their conclusion to be Elvis's career and success to be vulgar and obscenity as a means to drive children to Negro. All around the news and reports, everyone only talks about Elvis Presley to be cut off or barred from his singing, or else they will clean up his act themselves. Senator James Eastland personally rallies against Elvis and Parker on the same demand. Elvis the pelvis, he says that this act is childish by an adult that he would never have thought about. Elvis is told to wear clothes and act against his movements as they pretend it to be a black man, so much racism. Elvis is made to wear more appropriate clothing and his music is toned down, which disappoints his fans and Elvis for having to be held back. Even in his house, his mother tells him that this all has happened just because Colonel came in their family and disrupting everything. Even after what they all have gotten from him so much, she refuses to have anything as Elvis is unhappy and losing himself already. This also causes a strain between Elvis and Gladys. He leaves the house telling her that she has never gotten herself happy and appreciable after no matter what he does for them. The crowd shouts to him in his favor, calling the old Elvis back on stage. Jay runs through them ignored. He drives down to Beale Street surrounded by crowd.
Outside the restaurant, B. King with his guards calls him in.
He lets him forget all the things and let it all out. He hangs around with BB where they watch Little Richard perform. Elvis and B talk outside where B says that there are too many people profiting off of Elvis to try and put him in jail for how he performs, so he encourages him to do whatever he wants to do. Elvis is driven to a concert where he is ordered to not do so much as wiggle a finger or he will be arrested. Tom still suggests him while he is getting up the stage to not to wiggle and let him run the business. As Elvis gets on stage, he remembers B's words and addresses the audience saying nobody is going to change him, and the crowd goes wild. He begins to perform Trouble and the ladies in the audience go crazy. Parker is horrified and suggests Elvis's parents to go back into the car. He orders security to pull Elvis off stage, but he is arrested. Parker suggests his guards to keep a lookout on the merchandise, whereas Elvis is taken away. Elvis is soon threatened with going to jail for indecency, but he is given the option to surf overseas in West Germany. Gladys fears for her son's safety and eventually she dies. Parker comes to see them at the funeral. He asks about Elvis, where he sits in his mother's closet sobbing against her clothes. Parker steps in and convinces him to step outside for the sake of Gladys, saying that everything she sacrificed for her son will be for nothing. At her funeral, reporters try to get statements from Elvis, but both he and Vernon are too heartbroken to face anybody. By 1959, Elvis is serving in West Germany, where he meets Priscilla Wagner, the teenage daughter of an army pilot. Other people in the area like to catch a glimpse of Elvis, though he enjoys spending his private time with Priscilla. As he begins to fall in love with her in the 1960s, Elvis makes his comeback to the United States by appearing as an actor in films in Hollywood, beginning with Love Me Tender. Parker notes that people only want to watch Elvis sing, so he is featured as a singer in more films. He develops his own entourage, the Memphis Mafia, which includes Priscilla, his friend Jerry Schilling, and several others. Elvis and Priscilla get married in 1967. Later they have a daughter, Lisa Marie. During his time on the road, Elvis learns about the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. Priscilla comes to Presley at night when he is keeping himself alone watching King's memorial on the TV. He tells his wife that he is tired of playing as Elvis. He seemed to be tired of the people and the producers, where his wife comforts him with love, telling him to be happy and that's all. Parker sets a new plan for Elvis to be a family entertainer as he has gained attention being everyone else, like the movie star in Else. Steve Binder, who who is the one putting James Brown and Rolling Stones on stage. Elvis is introduced to Binder by Jerry, with Steve wanting to help Elvis out with his work. Elvis shares his story of how he was thrown away only because of his movements while performing on stages. Parker, on the other side, still focuses on his regime of growing his business and books Elvis for a Christmas special on NBC, where the producers want him to do a clean show and sing "Here Comes Santa Claus." The crowd cheers on his arrival. He takes his breath and starts singing "Hound Dog." Parker is stressed about Elvis's performance, but more of the producers. He sends a message to Elvis to sing the desired song. Elvis adds many other of his biggest hits like Jailhouse Rock and Heartbreak Hotel. Presley works with Steve Binder to reimagine the special and his performance choices. Sitting Live, he tells the audience about the new team he joins, that allows him freely to do what he wants to do, and sing what he wants to sing. Infuriated corporate sponsors threaten litigation, while Parker believes Presley has been brainwashed by hippies. Nevertheless, the show is highly successful. After some time, during a break, Elvis and company learns about the assassination of Robert Kennedy, which also deeply unnerves Elvis. The whole team sits and watches reports of Kennedy's death, where Steve asks Elvis to make a statement as the nation needs a voice to heal them. Parker breaks it up and orders Elvis to do a Christmas song since the producers won't pay him otherwise. While Parker tells him it has nothing to do with them, Elvis believes it has everything to do with them. Parker will drop Elvis the next night of the show. Soon after everyone left, Elvis, alone in the hall, starts singing the "Here Comes Santa Claus" song. Nevertheless, the show was a success, including the closing song "If I Can Dream," incorporate not only a review of his past songs but also political commentary. A little later in 1970, Parker then brings Elvis to Las Vegas at the International Hotel. Motivated by gambling debts, he manipulates Presley into signing a contract for a 5-year Las Vegas casino residency. After scoring a huge payment for Elvis, Parker is then told that as long as Elvis performs at the International, Parker will have his debts wiped clean and have an endless line of credit. During his tenure at the hotel, Priscilla watches as Elvis kisses other women. However, Elvis wants to start traveling and performing internationally, which Parker refuses to allow since he is undocumented, which was brought up earlier when he was confronted by Senator Eastland, who made a background check on Parker. Also orders tighter security due to Elvis getting death threats, as well as crazed fans trying to rush him on stage as his condition was similar, to let him stay in the country, 15 days in different 15 cities. In the meantime, because of his exhaustion, he starts to take pills that made him away from Priscilla. She left, taking Lisa with her. In 1973, Elvis attempts to cut ties with Parker by firing him as his manager, only to be sued by him. Later on, Vernon tells Elvis that he owes over $8 million to Parker and the record label for his numerous and lavish expenses. Elvis turns 40, he started gaining weight and his health is also in serious decline. He and Parker rarely see each other from this point onward, as Elvis's tours take up most of his time. Elvis is on an airport runway with Priscilla and Lisa before he has to leave them again to go out on tour. Increasingly exhausted after a continuously rigorous schedule of shows, Presley expresses to Priscilla his fear of being forgotten after death, as he believes he has achieved nothing worthwhile. Priscilla asks him to go to a special clinic that she heard about for his prescription drug addictions, at least for the sake of Lisa Marie, but Elvis says he cannot due to his touring and lavish spending of money. Priscilla tearfully leaves him for the last time before he boards his plane. This scene is after the news of his death, so you can use this as it is. Parker finishes his recollection, remembering one of his final shows on June 21, 1977. In Rapid City, South Dakota, an obese and pale Presley, unable to stand up, sings Unchained Melody and ends the performance to thunderous applause. In August 1977, Elvis dies at the age of 42 from a heart attack at his home. Fans all around the world pay tribute to him and a statement is given by President Jimmy Carter to memorialize him. Parker's final narration states that he doesn't think it was the pills or alcohol or even himself that killed Elvis, but rather it was the love that Elvis desired from his fans. A closing statement additionally explains that a series of lawsuits in the 1980s exposed Parker's financial abuse of Presley, with Parker settling out of court and cutting his ties to the Presley estate after failing to claim immunity as a stateless person. Elvis Presley remains the greatest-selling solo artist in history, beloved by millions worldwide even decades after his death, while Parker dies impoverished and alone on a hospital bed, having gambled the rest of his ill-gotten fortune away. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in more movies, visit our channel and consider subscribing. Until next time.